crime heat down on Iberville Street. Sex and incense mixed in the air. Met a man who shook my bones.
Suck it, baby.
With one penetrating stare.
He penetrated what?
He said, no reason to fear. Boy, your mama ain't here. Come home with me instead. And it was heaven all alone. Woke up in a stranger's bed, and I said, I think I found some kind of paradise.
Yes.
No angel wings, no fairy dust, just a rush of lust, but it's alright. And though this place is far from heavenly, no golden throne, the ecstasy's just temporary, but it's alright.
But the future is great. Oh, trust me.
Well, that sounds sparkling like a prize. Well, the prize is right.
Oh, it is. And the bars put upstairs to shame. Oh, you meet blue-eyed boys with cheekbones that can cut clear through steel, who hide in corners clutching overpriced drinks like a shield while they pray to be seen. One look into their they Botox their souls, or maybe they're just scared of the disease.
There's nothing a little penicillin can't fix.
Okay, since talking is tedious, now iPhones are preferred. You can know everything about a boy without saying a word. And if it turns out that he's useless when he gets down on his knees, at least he'll know when you come and leave no unwanted mysteries. Yeah, the future is great. Don't you agree? Sex is quick, convenient, and usually free. Sometimes I fear I'll never learn how to love, but the future is great. Sort of. I never had a mentor. I've been out since I was 10. But sometimes I wish I'd been more different now and then. Maybe that's the reason I have a talent for design. I'm my biggest, best creation. Can't you tell? I turned out fine. So I guess you're also lucky living in the 70s. There's no need to wear a condom. You can slut it up guilt-free. Nowadays, we have fancy drugs to help us all forget how the 80s came. Killed all your friends. You just don't know it yet. Well, the future is great. I can't wait to get back and take little white pills for each panic attack. Just under the tongue, in 10 seconds, I'm free. And I don't have to think about how great life's supposed to be.
The View Upstairs is about the queer community and what's changed over the last 40 years in our march towards equality, what's better or worse, and it also tells the story of the Upstairs Lounge, which was a gay bar in 1973 in New Orleans. It's been a really long journey. It's taken 4.5 years of changing the show and rewriting, but the questions of are we better, are we worse, I think are more pressing than ever.
We have a modern character who travels back in time, meets all of these interesting and unique individuals from the 70s who are at the cusp of gay liberation, and through this journey in time, he becomes a more complete person, and interestingly, I think a better artist. Come see The View Upstairs. Performances start February 15th at the Lynn Redgrave Theater, downtown Manhattan.
Welcome to Theatre Lounge Live, co-presented by the American Theatre Wing, Society of London Theatre, with special support from LiveView. That was amazing, guys. That was so great. I just want to read everyone's name who participated in your amazing company. Anthony Alfaro, Benjamin House, April Ortiz, Richard E. Waits, and of course I'm here with Jeremy Pope and Randy Red, and of course the amazing creator Max Vernon.
Hi.
Welcome, guys. So we did see a little bit in between this. Our viewers saw a little bit of the photo shoot video. So they know a little bit if they haven't seen the show. But if you could tell us what The View Upstairs is about.
Is this all on me?
Yes.
Okay. Come on. So The View Upstairs examines kind of a forgotten tragedy that occurred at a gay bar in 1973 in New Orleans. And it uses the fire to have a conversation about 1973 versus 2017. How have we grown? Are we better? Are we worse? What's changed? And it has a badass 1970s inspired rock score with lots of funky clav and church organ and all that. And then, in my opinion, as a theater geek, not just as someone who's incredibly biased, which I am, but I really feel like we have one of the great theater ensembles of all time that are slaying it every single night. And it's been a joy to watch them do that.
Absolutely, and I had the pleasure of seeing it last weekend, and it was incredible, and I absolutely agree with that statement. We have a couple of Facebook questions. This is a Facebook Live show. Rachel asks, who or what were some of your influences in creating The View Upstairs? So I guess this is a question for Max, but you guys can feel free to chime in.
Musically speaking, I would say that all of my favorite music just happens to be weirdly from 1973. Like my favorite album of all time, like my Desert Island album, is Talking Book by Stevie Wonder, which is 1973. But there's so much great music from that era. Elton John, Laura Nyro, Bette Midler, David Bowie, and all that stuff was kind of like in the back of my head. I grew up with that music when I was creating the score. In terms of theater influences of what I respond to, I've always been attracted to kind of like weird downtown musicals like Hair, Hedwig, Rocky Horror, these kind of like imperfect but vibrant and queer and weird shows, and that's what I think we've created with this.
Great. When did you guys come on the project?
I did a reading of the show back in the fall in a different role, and then joined as this character as Buddy for the production here.
Yeah, and I was I believe it was December or November of last year. Yeah. And I read the script, met Max, Scott, and yeah, we started right in January, top of the year.
Great. Rachel wants to know Joanna wants to know, when did you first hear about the events, so the Upstairs Lounge, and when did you sort of become aware of that history?
I didn't know about this. I grew up an hour away outside of New Orleans, and I didn't know about this until the show came around, which seems inconceivable to me that I grew up in the backyard. And it wasn't until we did the reading of the show last fall that was the first time that I heard about this.
Yeah, I remember, I'm originally from Orlando, Florida, so after Pulse happened, I remember reading the script and kind of going like, is this based off of, like, I didn't know if it was fiction, nonfiction, and then after I was able to do research and find out that, wow, this really happened in New Orleans, 1973, so many people died, and no one knows about it. Parents, family members, people in the community, it was kind of an unforgotten event, so it was very special that we could tell this piece right now with all that's going on.
Yeah, I mean, the piece, it's a historical piece, but it's so current, and I know you've been working on it for a long time, and I won't spoil anything, but there are a lot of 2017 updated references. So when did those changes occur?
Well, when I first started writing the show, gay marriage was not legal, Pulse had not happened, Trump hadn't been elected. So many different things have changed over the past 5 years in our culture, and so the conversation between 1973 and 2017 has to keep shifting. And I feel like actually that clarified a lot of things about Wes's character, because originally he was someone who was just kind of ignorant about, like, he had never really experienced trauma or tragedy or anything like that. He'd only experienced things getting better, and so he's kind of a shithead, and he goes back to the past and he has to have this encounter with all of these people in order to become a more fully realized, well-rounded individual. But now in the new version of it, he has grown up with the pendulum swing back. He has seen Pulse, he has seen Trump, and so he becomes more complicated because our world is more complicated, and he's more someone who understands that all of these things are happening, but he thinks he can kind of shelter himself in the world of social media and his followings, and that, that'll be his way, that he ignores all of it. And then his experience in the past tells him, you have to focus on this.
And have those changes affected the way you play your roles?
Yes, in that it charges us every night. You can feel this audience, especially with your first sort of big contemporary reference on the show. You feel the audience like just jump on board at that point, and with like so much energy. That energy comes at us, and that sets off the story.
Yeah, what you said, I've never felt that as far as like having one line or one scene where the whole audience is like, oh, we're in this together. It doesn't feel like they're watching. It's like, oh, we are living in, that is the truth of the world outside.
I think there's something kind of like sexy and dangerous about it, because at least as someone who's been working in musical theater, and it takes so long because you got to raise all that money to get your show up. Things arrive on stage and they're like dated already. They're like 10 years behind what's happening, and this is happening right now. And I think there's something almost like musical theater audiences are not prepared for that. And so immediately from the start of the show, there's something really, like, there's an energy in the room of like, oh, we're gonna talk about this. And I think that's part of why people have been responding to the material in such an intense way.
Yeah, and the Society of London Theatre, the American Theatre Wing, we support Brave New Voices. Max is a Jonathan Larson Grant recipient, which we're very proud of you for that. And
yeah, thanks for that. Helped me. I was able to quit my job and focus on writing the show.
And that's what that's for. Yeah. So that's great. do you guys are you finding that more new work is coming out that is either political or, making their voice heard in a more current way? And do you think that's important for musical theater?
There's a lot of new work. I mean, it's a season where we're seeing 12 new musicals this season, but it's rare that you get something that cuts to the bone like this does. It's something that is so provocative and on the edge, and I think that is what we need more of. If we're going to make all these new shows, let's not revisit a movie that we've all seen and loved.
I think playwrights, definitely. I know so many playwrights who are doing next level, outside of the box, cool experimental stuff. With musical theater, it's rarer. You don't have the same bravery, I think. I go to so many presentations for shows at BMI that are about two white people going on a first date, and the emotional climax of the show is do I order cappuccino? And it's who cares? I don't care. And it's I feel right now we have this brilliant moment where we can reclaim art as this subversive thing in musical theater, and that's so sexy and cool, and I want to see other composers doing that and grabbing the mantle and speaking truth to power.
We can't do anything anymore without a purpose, a real intention behind it. It just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. And I think the music not only tells the story, but really is so energetic and passionate. I think people are responding to that. We have a question from Heather. Will there be a cast recording? I actually want to know this too.
We want to know that too.
We want to know.
Do you know?
God, I hope so. I mean, as Nathan Lee Graham says, I ain't gonna suck the dick, but I'll get it hard.
Viewer discretion.
However we gotta fund this record, let me know. I want it out there in the world. Yeah.
Rachel wants to know, are there any funny stories from things on or off stage that you can share with us?
Well,
sounds like there's a few.
I guess if anything, this cast is amazing. I've obviously fallen in love with everybody in this cast, and lately we've had lots of people. We're just to that point in the show where people are coming and going, and we've had some understudies, and our entire company jumps in with so much enthusiasm, and to see us all connect with our eyeballs on stage, and what's happening now, who's gonna walk through the door tonight? That's been really fun, and of course, there are goofy things that happen, and but
our show, we have, the audience is on stage, so we have a lot of moments with different audience members that will grab you and touch you and say things to you, and because we create that environment. So a lot of stories of that nature.
Well, to dive into that, what was super important to me is that we capture actually the cruisy atmosphere of being in a seedy 70s gay bar and what that was like. So, at the pre-show, a lot of the actors improv and things see you in the bathroom in, 10 minutes or whatever. And then one of the people in the audience actually followed Ben Main into the bathroom and was waiting for him, actually thought he was trying to pick him up. And Ben was just enjoy the show, bye.
I am an actor.
I'm an actor. But weird things, actually, I noticed, kind of ghosty, mysterious things have happened. On this bar over here, we have some bottle caps that are hot glued on, and at one production meeting, all of a sudden a bottle cap flew off horizontally, it didn't just fall off, the glue wore off, it propelled out. Wow. And there was another weird thing where I once got out of a midnight show, and it took me, the trains were so messed up, and it took me 2 hours to get home. And then I got to my stop, and the subway doors parted open, and then on the ground right in front of me was the poster for the show. And it was the back page of the Village Voice that had been ripped out, and it was literally just there on the floor, and I didn't even know we were gonna be on the back of the Village Voice. So I was that to me, I was there's some gay ghost following around our show and dropping little clues, which I think is awesome. Oh, yeah, he's a friendly gay ghost.
Yeah, yeah. It's cool.
Are there go-to antics with the audience that you that your characters?
One of my things when I first come on at the top of the show, I always pick out somebody and say, "How do I know you?" And the panic in people, it's so funny, and I just sort of
the cock at 2 a.m.
Yeah, well, who knows? But that sort of sends people into. How do we know each other? That's fun. That's kind of a.
We have time for one more question. Robin wants to know, what do you hope audiences will take away from the show?
I think the big message of community and purpose. I think, we were talking a few nights ago about this show, and I feel like if this musical had played 10, 15 years ago in this room, we wouldn't have the same audience that we have now. we look out at the audience, and it's such a beautiful mix of everybody, just like of human beings here. And I feel like that's, you know, and by the end of it, everybody's on their feet, and we're all sort of like cheering each other, you know, and because we're right here in the same space together. And I think
You
that's
feel charged.
yeah,
You feel alert. You feel aware.
yeah. You want to send them out with that energy.
To me, as a writer, I would say that I want to make everyone fall in love with this community, and then, you know, unfortunately, history is history. Like, the community is destroyed, right, and it's taken away from you. But what I want people to walk away with is the thing of, like, how do I take what I loved in the past and put it into now? And I want them to walk out feeling empowered to create their own pockets of community and to, you know, pick up the torch and keep fighting.
Well, I think that's a great place to end. You have to see this show, The View Upstairs, at the Lynn Redgrave Theater. It's phenomenal. It's a party. It's serious. It's sad. It's all the emotions. So thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank
Jeremy,
you.
Randy, Max. Thank you to the Society of London Theater, our partners, and stay tuned for our next Theater Lounge Live.